but this is called the gravity of longing. Okay. It started while the world was at standstill, from an open conversation on a Facebook thread about long-distance relationships held exclusively online. She thought it seemed perplexing. I thought she seemed the same. Though I don't fancy myself the bold type, I liked the font her mouth made in the 30 seconds it took me to graze her profile. I imagined us to be that true story of so many Sundance selections. So I cordially scrawled a contact request, and in a matter of minutes, there we were, staring screen to screen. As a master of interpersonal communication, I proceeded to unhinge my jaw and let loose an incoherent cacophony vaguely resembling human thought. I showed her just how quickly I could tuck my toes between my teeth, but she just laughed on notes of lavender and lilac and sang back a ballad with a voice that carried itself like a mid-morning sunlight. I'll always remember her eyes, despite the pixelation and continental divide. How they could still fill a room, dance their way across my chest, and make me feel seen like I was still on stage. Her ample glances, the most delicious applause, and I've been starved since March. Our improvised play was a dance between planets. I found it surreal how I could sip her stories with each breakfast, while always the last thing she brought to bed. We trade atmospheric observations between us, but I'd always lose track of the data, staring at the constellation of her eyelashes, entranced by this olive-framed doorway to an optimistic somewhere. I started tracking time based on when I could and couldn't see her. The old metrics meant nothing in an age where the days had a tendency to stick together like soggy newspaper. I could feel the electric current of her appearance every time she'd click respond, and I'd feel that buzz again, but it slowly started to put me on edge. You can only window shop for so long before the glass begins to crack, before the empty space across the table where her laugh could sit perfectly only looks that much more like her silhouette. Hungering for this snack that was ever out of reach had become my only food source. This was clearly not sustainable. So I composed one last arrangement, the only one I could see fit, even though our notes were octaves apart. Perhaps we could see how it all played out as long as she was okay with letting other measures rest. I was not the only musician that set my time signature to hers, and she took to my ultimatum like a barn cat to white collar, preferred to roam of her own accord, untamed by my cubicle-shaped affection. On what was determined to be my final night of this gorgeous torture, I threw all pretense of patience to the wind, asked her for the blueprints to her allure, whatever secret she had left. I never could have guessed that she'd one-up my gumption with a glimpse beneath her veneer, showing me all the peaks and valleys I'd never get a chance to traverse, flaunting a diametric dissonance, so benevolent yet so brutal at the same time. But I still remember her, in each cup of coffee, my morning sacrament to her late-night sacrilege, the aroma of her accent mixed with the bitter remains. I drink to the ideal of her, and accept that it had to come with her distance. I drink to the dream of what we could have been.